أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
ربنا علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد. Today's insights are all in one verse. I noticed last week that you loved having only one verse to talk about. So today it's also only one verse. Look at this verse. الذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم أعظم درجة عند الله وأولئك هم الفائزون. Those who attained faith and migrated or emigrated and exerted themselves in their wealth and in their persons are of a greater daraja to God, and it is they who are al-faizun, they who are the delivered. They are the ones who have received deliverance. So we're going to take it apart, the ayah, little by little. So those who attained faith and trust, of course, because amanu means faith and trust. Al-iman wal-aman, it's the same root verb. So if you have faith and trust in God, you are of alladhina amanu. And you could be of al-mu'mineen, but who gives you that title? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? We don't know who has that title. So those who attained faith and emigrated and exerted themselves. So we have here what? 3 qualities to those people. Why is it important for someone who has attained faith to also be abandoning the domain of wrongdoing, meaning to do hijrah? Why is it important for somebody who has attained faith to also do hijrah? So we all have to do some kind of hijrah. It doesn't have to be a physical hijrah, leaving your hometown. It could be, and it could be necessary, but it doesn't have to be that. So why is it important for someone who has attained faith to also abandon domains of wrongdoing and to also exert oneself? We have to actually be exerting ourselves. Jihad and mujahada and jihad is not related primarily to fighting. That is the last thing you do. When there's aggression, you do it. But there's so much jihad before that, mainly with the jihad of your own self, promoting yourself in many ways. So why is it important for us to do this? After attaining faith, to do hijrah and to do jihad. Why is it important? Firstly, because there's no such thing as faith on its own. You never see alladhina amanu in the Quran by itself. You always see alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. You always see it like that. So what does that mean? It means that your iman has to have action with it. It cannot just be words of mouth. You have to be showing the proof with your action. So that's number 1. Secondly, the goal we seek is such a beautiful goal that it requires all 3. Iman, wal hijrah, wal jihad fi sabilillah. It's such a beautiful goal that it requires all 3. What is our goal? This is our goal. In the ladina amanu, those who attained faith, waladina hajar, and those who emigrated, wajahadu fi sabilillah, and exerted themselves in God's way, it is they who yarjuna rahmat Allah. It is they who anticipate God's mercy. So if you are anticipating God's mercy, or you want to anticipate God's mercy, let's say, you have to be doing all 3. Iman, wa hijrah, wa jihad fi sabilillah. But those of you who are Arabs and are reading this in Arabic, what did you notice right there? You noticed rahmat Allah is with the ta al-mamduda, not with the ta al-marbuta. The ta al-marbuta is the round one with 2 dots on top. A ta al-mamduda is the one which is what? Which is the long ta, also with 2 dots on top, but it's the long one, as you can see here in the ta. So why is this important? Why am I showing it to you right here? Why is it important to show you? Because anytime you see ta mamduda instead of ta marbuta, it is showing you what? Expansion after constriction. It is showing you that Allah is giving expansion with His rahmah, meaning that before that there was constriction, and now He's giving you all His rahmah with expansion. So He expanded. It's not the writer who expanded the ta, like somebody's writing the scribe. You have a scribe who is writing the Quran, putting it in writing, and he went and expanded the ta. No, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Jibreel alayhi salam to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, who told him this ta is to be written this way. So you see the Quran, I don't want to get into another story here, but the Quran, Rabbil Alameen, He said about it, Inna alayna jam'ahu wa Qur'ana. So if you hear historical news saying that the Quran jama' at a different time after the Prophet's death, it was put together and did all of that. Okay, that's history. I'm not going to argue history. History is history. But the Quran says, Inna alayna jam'ahu wa Qur'ana. Upon us is the gathering together of it. So in my mind, wallahu a'lam, the way I see the Quran, it was gathered during the Prophet's time, peace upon him, and written during the Prophet's time, peace upon him, with every single letter the way it's supposed to be. As you see, the rahmah here is with a ta mabsuta, meaning that all those who attained faith in الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك, it is they who anticipate God's mercy. What now? Because we know that they were constricted before. So you were constricted before, you were having troubles before, but now you will anticipate God's mercy. It will be expanded towards you. Wallahu ghafurun rahim, and God is oft forgiving, most merciful. So where from, we might ask ourselves, where from is our hijrah? We want to do hijrah, okay, but where from do we start? All of us might think that I want to do hijrah because Allah said that this is something that, is helpful, and it will help us, inshallah, to what? Narju rahmatallah. So we all narju rahmatallah. So where am I going to do my hijrah from? To get off certain sites and websites, that is a great hijrah. And I advise us all to make that hijrah. Get away from atmospheres which are faithless, because around you have lots of atmospheres, especially these days. So leaving misguided friends, but maybe leaving them temporarily, maybe. And then, of course, hijrah from empathy to sympathy. Often we are empathetic. I mean, we don't take care of things that are happening around us. Well, let us be more sympathetic. What about abandoning bad habits? We know we have a lot of those. And by the way, listen to your kids, listen to your spouses, listen to your best friends, listen to your mothers, listen to your sisters and brothers. And we should be also, I'm sure we haven't been doing that at all, or maybe not enough. We have not been telling each other our bad habits. And I think we should. We should start with that as true sisters and brothers. We shouldn't be, we could be a little bit careful how we word it, but I think we should start telling each other our bad habits because we love each other. So abandoning bad habits is one. And what else? Abandoning our comfort zones. Our comfort zone often is what? It's the hole we have to get out of, because we're in that hole and we're stuck. So maybe that's our hijrah. And of course, from ithim to bir. We're not going to get into that now because most of us have already understood ithim and bir. But ithim is hindrance. It is takhalluf. It is procrastination. It is staying behind. And bir is being ahead and doing what needs to be done even before it is an actual dire necessity. So from where is our hijrah? I bet you if you go home and write a list, you will find that you can make a hijrah from many places. Now, where to is our hijrah? Our hijrah is from all of that, but now where to is our hijrah? Primarily towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah. فَهِجْرَتُنَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. But isn't the Quran part of that? The Quran is not just part of that. For us today, the Quran is that. During the Prophet's lifetime, peace upon him, it was the hijrah ila Allah wa rasulihi. So they were in Mecca, they went to Medina. And they were receiving the Quran from Rasulullah live. They were receiving it live. He was there and they were actually seeing him receiving it sometimes. Sometimes they even saw angels. I mean, they had different, very close contact with him and with the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention the Quran in that. Because Rasulullah, what's the meaning of Rasul? The bearer of the Risala. So, Hijrah ilallahi wa rasulihi means the Quran, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Risala of the Rasul. So for us today, if you want to make hijrah, you also make hijrah to the Quran. Because your hijrah to the Quran means you are making hijrah to Allah and His Rasul. Because that is where Allah's word is, that is where the Risala of the Rasul is. It's in the Quran. So that's our hijrah. There's a hadith in which the Prophet, peace upon him, is reported to have said, hijrah will not end until tawbah comes to an end. What does that mean? It means we have hijrah. We have to make hijrah all the time. Even tawbah is a hijrah. Your tawbah from whatever you feel that you should make tawbah, meaning returning to God because of having something done, something wrong. Whatever it is, it's a hijrah. You're actually making a hijrah in your heart and in your mind and in your willpower and in everything. I want to make tawbah. It's a complete hijrah. So whenever we're reading ayat in the Quran which tell us about al-muhajirin, maybe some of them fit us. We're not there at that time, but each of us has our own hijrah. And the rest of the hadith, it's in Musnad Imam Ahmad. It says, لا تنقطع الهجرة حتى تنقطع التوبة ولا تنقطع التوبة حتى تطلع الشمس من مغربها. Meaning the day of judgment. That hijrah will not end until tawbah comes to an end. But tawbah, the door of tawbah is always open. It will never close. It's always there. Tawbah is always there until the sun comes, what? Instead of coming out of the east, it comes out of the west. When is that? Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we have a chance for tawbah as long as we are alive. So, in reality, it is all about jihad. And now in a hadith, one of the hadith of the Prophet, peace upon him, he said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. That deeds are by intention and every person has the benefit of his intention. But as we looked through the Quran, those of you who are with us, very interesting talk we had one day. We looked all through the Quran, of course, and there's no such thing as niyyah. Remember, we did not find niyyah in the Quran. And how can we not find niyyah in the Quran? It's so important to us. And if you remember at that time, one of the words which we took to actually describe niyyah in the way that it is not just what you intend, it is also what you are getting up to do. So like when you say nawaitu siyam, right? Or nawaitu salah, you're doing niyyah of salah, niyyah of siyam. What are you doing? Are you saying nawaitu siyam and siyam is still 10 days away? Are you saying nawaitu salah and you are sitting eating? No. You say nawaitu salah the minute you are standing and saying nawaitu salah, Allahu Akbar. And you say nawaitu siyam the minute you are actually beginning your fast. So niyyah, which is the word which is commonly used in the Quran, is is used as azm. So the word niyyah in Quran is azm. We don't have niyyah in the Quran, we have another word, which is a stronger word, giving you not just what's inside, it's giving you also the strength of doing it, the azm. And we have this hadith narrated by actually Aisha radiallahu anha. We asked her about al-hijrah. We asked Aisha about al-hijrah. She said, La hijrat al-yawm. Now, what's she talking about? Aisha was talking about the hijrah from Mecca to Medina. And she said, La hijrat al-yawm. Why? Because at that time, كان المؤمنون يفر أحدهم بدينه إلى الله تعالى. He used to flee wherever he was, bearing with him his faith to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, so that he would not be have fitna. However, today, when Islam is zahir, meaning it is superior, اليوم يعبد المؤمن ربه حيث يشاء. You can worship Allah wherever you want. So now there's no need for hijrah. So this gives you an idea also of what? Of when you are in a place that you can worship God freely, there's no need for hijrah. Meaning what? Physical hijrah from country to country. However, if you're in a place where you cannot worship God freely, then hijrah becomes something you should do. It becomes something you should do. So don't say, I'm sitting here and I'm unable. Get up and go somewhere where you can worship God freely. So the end of the hadith, what does she say? وَالْيَوْمِ يَعْبُدُ رَبَّهُ حَيْثُ شَاءَ وَلَكِنْ جِهَادٌ وَنِيَّةٌ. What's she saying here? That your hijrah today is jihad and niyyah. Because if you are worshiping God easily in a country where you can worship God easily, your hijrah today is jihadun wa niyyah, which is exertion and the will to do it, the azm to do it. We're using now the Qur'anic word, azm. So it is about what? Exertion and resolve. So azm is resolve, similar to niyyah. But it's a little bit stronger, isn't it? Niyyah, you have it in your head. But azm, you have it in your physical tawakkul. So those of you who were with us before, you remember the 5-second rule, right? It's the 5-second Qur'anic rule. If the bell rings in the morning for prayer and you want to get up to pray and you say, you know what, just 1 second more, you've lost it, because that makes it like 6 seconds. If you don't move within the first 5 seconds of the bell ringing, okay, of your alarm bell ringing, you won't get up. You'll probably stay sleeping. Why? It's a 5-second rule. To do something within the first 5 seconds, you get up and do it. And that's a whole, strategy, which was, Mel Robbins, if you've heard about her, she spoke about that. She wrote books about that. But actually, it's a Qur'anic rule. How do we know it's a Qur'anic rule? Because this ayah tells it to us. Ali Imran 159. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. If you count the seconds, it's 5 seconds to count this part of the ayah. So whenever you hear the alarm bell, or whenever you want to do something good, somebody tells you something, you say, okay, I'm going to reach in my purse and give that money to that person. If you thought about it, you wouldn't do it. Because your hand is there, you're going to do it, and then you say, let me think. 5 seconds. If you put your hand in your purse and you take out the money, it's done. But if you have to think about it, it's not done anymore. So فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. Say that anytime you decide, not you decide, you haven't yet decided. Say that anytime somebody offers you something to do which you think is a good thing to do. Whenever you see that, say, just say it. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. Just by saying that, you have actually garnered what? Allah's help, because you made tawakkul upon him. That's the 5-second rule. So We spoke about those who attained faith and emigrated. May Allah يجعلنا منهم. May we be of them. And how about exerting themselves? Exerting themselves with what? In their wealth and in their persons. الذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم. So that's the second thing. So where is our exertion demanded? Where is our exertion demanded? Look at that. I'm not going to read all of that, but I just wanted to show you the 10 locations where exertion is always in our wealth before ourselves. Subhanallah ala rahmatillah, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful. He asks us to exert ourselves, but our wealth always comes first. So whatever you can do with your wealth, before you do it with your health or with your time or with your, do it. Why? Because your wealth is easier to give, number one, much easier. Number two, what happens to your wealth? It comes back many-fold. So give it. Of course, those who do not have the wealth to give, it's a different story. They would be giving of themselves because the wealth is not in their hands to give of it. Then they would be giving of themselves. Of course, Allahu A'lam, maybe their thawab would be very, very great. Maybe even greater. I don't know. Allahu A'lam, He's the one who gives the thawab. But He told us in rahmah for us, exert yourself with your wealth first, before yourself. But after your wealth, it is yourself. So we know lots of Sahaba who used to do what? When there was a battle, they would actually arm the soldiers with horses, with ammunition, that's a way to exert their wealth when there's a battle that needed to be fought. And so for us as well, we should exert ourselves with our wealth. So it's always like that. There's not a single ayah in the Quran where you exert yourself with your self before your wealth. However, the word wealth comes before self everywhere, except in this one ayah where God tells us where His investment is. His investment is in ourselves. What does He say? Inna Allah ashtara min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum. It's the only time that we have the anfus before the amwal. Otherwise, always the amwal are before the anfus. Indeed, God has purchased from the faithful their selves and their wealth, for which the garden is theirs. What does that tell you? Number one, it gives you the difference between those who attained faith and the faithful. So the faithful are those who have actually given themselves before their wealth even. Maybe that's it. Maybe the faithful are those who gave themselves before their wealth because there was so much giving. And also it tells us something else, that is where Allah's investment is. It is in us. His investment is in us. And from us comes our wealth anyway. How did our wealth get there? It came from us. So His investment is in us. اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم. And maybe also because we are connected to Him. Why is His investment in us? Maybe because we are connected to Him also, like خلق الإنسان من علق, that we are connected to Him, the connection of the lower to the higher. What's the meaning of علق? And يناط الشيء بالشيء العالي, something which is يناط, which is connected to the higher. So the insan is from علق. The bashar is from teen. We are bashar and we are insan at the same time, but my bashariya is from teen, dust to dust, earth to earth, dust to dust, but my insaniya is from alaq, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allahu a'lam why He said that. So الذين آمنوا وهاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم. That's what we have covered so far. Now we're going to go into درجة. أولئك أعظم درجة. Now, Ibn Faris tells us that daraja is about something passing by, about us moving, giving us the example of a little boy who has started to daraja, meaning to move about independently. So daraja is about what? It's about locomotion. It's about motion. It's about action. It's always about action. Daraja is about active function. It is not about a rank. Many people think that أولئك أعظم درجة is that those are a higher rank. How did they deserve that rank? They deserve that rank through action. So daraja itself is about action. سيد القوم خادمهم. We have that saying in Arabic. And we were raised to different walks of life. رفعنا بعضهم فوق بعض درجات. Here Allah telling us about different walks of life. What's a walk of life? It's where you are moving in life. Why? So that you would take one another in service. ليتخذ بعضهم بعضا what? سخرية. So it's all about motion. All about motion. There is no such thing as an inherent rank. You don't have a higher rank than I do. I don't have a higher rank than you do. Men don't have a higher rank than women. People who are rich don't have a higher rank than poor. The only thing they have is a daraja, a step they have accrued. They have gotten to that step through some kind of motion in which they would be able to serve those who need them. So there's no such thing as an inherent rank among humans. There is action that raises a person. Action that raises a person to that daraja. Look at all the times that darajat is mentioned. لكل درجات مما عملوا. Here you have darajat, you have عمل صالحا. Here you have darajat عملوا. درجات والله بما تعملون خبير. Every single time you see the word daraja, it has to do with amal. Amal and daraja. Nobody has a higher rank except by action. Even these ayahs, if you look at them, the word daraja is singular here. The ones I showed you before, darajat, were plural. Here, the word daraja is singular. You also look and you see what? You see a higher step taken because of what? مجاهدين بأموالهم وأنفسهم. جاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم. قاتلوا. See, there's something. Except for this ayah. This is the only ayah in which you see rijal, and you see mutallaqat, and you see the word daraja. That's the only one, which is strange. And in looking into it, لِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ daraja, it could mean two things. It could mean that the man has a daraja over his mutallaqa, his divorcee, because here we're talking about pregnancy in a divorcee, okay? So he has more mobility, not being the one pregnant. They want to divorce, he has more mobility, not being the one pregnant. You see that? That could be the meaning. And it also could mean something else related to the word rijal, which some of you might know. Women on their feet, a woman on her feet is a rajla or a rajlah, and the plural of that is rijal, which could mean also that the divorcee who is not pregnant is of a more mobile rank than her pregnant friend. So Allahu A'lam, that one I'm going to leave. I'm not going to go into that one, but generally, as you have noticed, daraja is always about amal, about mobility. Always, always. So those who attained faith and emigrated and exerted themselves in their wealth and in their persons are of a greater daraja to God, a greater step in motion in what they're doing to God, of course, and it is they who are the delivered. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ. Some people think that faizun is they've won. That's a winning. What's the meaning of winning? Fawz means deliverance. You are saved. You are delivered from something which is dangerous, something which is terrible. وَيُنَجِّي اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا بِمَفَازَتِهِمْ لَا يَمَسُّهُمُ السُّوءُ. So it's about najat. يُنَجِّيهِمْ بِمَفَازَتِهِمْ. He is delivering them by what they have done, meriting deliverance. Look at the other ayah. Look at the other coin, this other side of the coin. The top one is about the الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. The bottom one is about whom? About people who are not so good. Do not think that those who are rejoicing with what they have gotten and they love to be yuhmadu, they love to be highlighted, they love to be spoken well of, they love to be, all of that. Do not think that they who love to be commended for what they have not done, بما لم يفعلوا, do not think they are بمفازة من العذاب. So how can the word mafaza and fawz be winning? How would they win away from the suffering? Mafaza and fawz and all that means deliverance. Do not think that they shall be delivered out of suffering. So mafaza, fawz, all of those words are about deliverance. So al-fawz, we have al-fawz al-azim, we have al-faizun, al-fawz al-mubin, mafaza, al-fawz al-kabir. It appears 27 times with its derivations, 5 times in this surah. And here you see where the word faizun appears in all those ayat. It appears people who have jahadu bi amwalihim wa anfusihim. It appears who are the faizun, meaning the delivered. So those who make jihad in their amwal and anfus, those who sabaru, those who have perseverance, those who yuti Allah wa rasulah, those who obey Allah and His Messenger, and ashabul jannah. These are the faizun. So now we have read this full ayah, all of it together. Those who attained faith and trust and emigrated or migrated and exerted themselves in their wealth and in their persons are of a greater daraja to God, greater step in having done something worthwhile to God, and it is they who are the delivered. So whether we emigrate physically or spiritually, let us take that step. It is life's greatest move, and we can be called, inshallah, the delivered, and receive it as a title, al-faizun, those who were delivered or who are delivered.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين.